Something strange lingered in the cool Yukon air that morning. The machines were running, but the crew's voices were gone. Parker stood in the distance, staring at one spot. The same spot where Chris Doumitt had spent the night checking stakes alone. No one knew what Doumitt had seen, but the vibe on his face clearly indicated that something big, very big, was about to be discovered. The camera zoomed in. Ground readings suddenly spiked. Normally, this area would be considered a complete dead zone, but Doumitt's readings showed a 900% jump. Parker was in disbelief. "This is impossible," he said, but Doumitt's calm tone shook everyone. "Boss, I think you should see this." The metallic sheen that emerged from the excavator's first scoop shocked the entire team. The gold density number returned, normally 3 to 4 Oz per yard, but here, a straight 27 Oz per yard. It was at that moment that a whisper spread through the crew. "Dude, this could be the 75 Methwanmailer's land." Parker's heartbeat was pounding, Doumitt's eyes were steady, and the rest of the crew literally held their breath. It felt as if a sealed jackpot was calling Parker underground, and Doumitt was just quietly waiting for the truth to come out. If you think Parker controls everything, well, brother, this time the story is the opposite. What Doumitt discovered turned the whole game upside down. After seeing what happened next, you'll say, this was the wildest twist of the gold rush. And brother, I'm writing one thing clearly. If you don't subscribe, the next twist will be lost. Seriously, the next part is as explosive as the actual reveal of the $70 jackpot. Early morning silence, strange crew behavior. When Parker arrived at the site in the cool Yukon morning air, one thing immediately struck him. The entire crew was completely silent. Amid the usual hum of machinery, there was no sound of workers chattering, laughing, or planning. Everyone stood facing the same direction, as if someone had put the entire camp on hold. Parker straightened his hat and slowly walked forward, sensing something was amiss. A strange blend of fear and excitement flashed in the eyes of the workers standing near the excavator. Some wore serious expressions, while others rubbed their hands, as if some big news was about to arrive, but they couldn't speak. Parker scanned each face, but no one looked back at him properly. This was the same crew that usually reacted loudly to everything, but today everyone's voices seemed to be silenced. Parker clearly sensed that something had happened on the ground that exceeded his expectations. As he approached Doumitt, he noticed that Doumitt wasn't wearing his usual cool smile. His gaze was fixed on the ground, and the ground scanner was shaking slightly in his grip. A slight uneasiness rose within Parker. Why are these people behaving like this, he thought. The surrounding atmosphere was so heavy that even the air seemed to stagnate. Parker understood. This wasn't a normal mining morning. Something had happened today that the crew couldn't digest. And when Parker saw the spot where everyone else was staring, his heart stopped for a moment. A strange mark in the soil and a faint blinking light below the scanner. What did it indicate? More than the crew's silence, there was something in the vibe of the ground that clearly told him. The story was just beginning here. Ground data explosion. Unbelievable readings. Parker had just crouched down near the ground when Doumitt slightly adjusted the scanner. Normally, this scanner would barely give readings around 3-4 Oz per yard, considered standard for Yukon mining. But as soon as Doumitt pressed the power button, numbers blinked on the screen, and Parker literally froze. The numbers rapidly climbed to 27 Oz per yard, practically unheard of. Parker tapped the screen twice in disbelief, as if he couldn't believe the reading could actually be so high. Red and green lights above the scanner blinked simultaneously, as if the machine itself was in shock. Soft cries of, "Oh my God, and no way," were heard from behind the crew, but then everyone fell silent, as Parker's reaction was still awaited. Parker's face showed confusion, awe, and fear all rolled into one. If this reading was true, this place could be not just rich, but super rich ground. Such gold density is normally only found in old historical deposits or sealed pockets. Doumitt looked at Parker and said softly, "Boss, this reading isn't a joke. I checked it 3 times last night." His voice was steady, as if he knew deep down that he had found the jackpot. Parker took a deep breath and ran the scanner again. The numbers exploded right there. No fluctuation, no error signal. Pure, straight spike. At this moment, the faces of the entire crew changed. Some were taking off their gloves and placing them on their foreheads. Others were looking at the ground as if they were breathing. The suspense was so thick that even the air felt heavy. Parker knew, if these readings were correct, this wasn't just new ground. This could be the biggest twist of the gold rush. And this one reading changed the course of fortune for both Parker and Doumitt. Parker's first reaction, disbelief, plus stress. As soon as Parker saw the scanner's blinking lights, his face changed. He bent down and wiped the screen with the back of his hand, as if he suspected dirt or dust was causing the reading to be inaccurate. The same number flashed on the screen again, 27 Oz per yard. Parker's eyes widened, and anxiety clearly appeared on his face. He tapped the machine on the side and muttered, "This can't be real. This is impossible." His first thought was that the machine was malfunctioning, because such numbers appear in documentaries, not in real Yukon mining. Parker stepped back, placed his hands on his waist, and took a deep breath. The tension was evident in his eyes, as if someone had shaken the balance of his planning. The crew looked at him, but no one spoke. Everyone awaited Parker's reaction, because he was the one who decided what would happen next. Parker checks the screen again, this time pressing the button a little harder. But the result is the same. The reading jumps back to 27 Oz. The veins on his forehead furrow, and he whispers to himself, "The machine is glitching. This can't be legit." His body language stiffens, and he takes a step back, staring at the ground. He can't tell if this gold density is real or a technical glitch. The tension in the atmosphere slowly grows heavier. A strange fear rises within Parker, because if this reading is true, it means he's been searching the wrong places all this time. And Doumitt has hit the jackpot in one strike. Parker's heartbeat is pounding, and the silence is making him even more nervous. He instinctively says, "No, this is not real. This can't be." Doumitt's calm, confidence, experience speaks. While the entire crew was transfixed by Parker's intense reaction, Doumitt's face was surprisingly calm. He approached Parker, sat down on the ground, held the scanner steady, and said in a very calm voice, "Boss, there's nothing wrong with the machine. This place is really hot." There was no excitement or fear in his tone, just pure confidence. This calmness doubled the suspense of the entire atmosphere. Doumitt's decades of mining experience shone through in this moment. He had checked the readings alone 3 times that night, and each time the pattern was the same. Pointing to the scanner screen, he told Parker, "I've never seen such a clear spike before. This isn't random. This is a deep pocket." Parker looked into his eyes and understood that Doumitt wasn't joking. The vibe of an experienced miner, when he turns serious, is what he says. Some of the crew members glance slowly at each other, as Doumitt's calm assurance further highlights Parker's tension. Parker remains confused and doubtful, but Doumitt's expression reveals that he's 100% sure they've hit the rarest ground in the Yukon. The reason for his confidence is simple. Experience never makes a mistake. Doumitt continues, "Boss, this is jackpot ground, and if we dig it right, this could be your biggest season." His voice is low, but his words are powerful. Parker is momentarily stunned. This was the man who had worked for Parker for years, and today he was giving Parker the news every miner hears only once in their lifetime. Doumitt's calmness makes the entire scene cinematic. Where Parker is tense, Doumitt is steady, and this contrast captivates the audience. His calm smile and steady hands were clearly saying, "Boss, you are doubting, but the ground does not. This is real." First scoop reveal, bright metallic flash. As the excavator digs into the ground for the first time, the entire crew holds their breath. A large chunk of soil lifts up, and all eyes immediately focus on the bucket. Parker steps forward and observes carefully, a look of doubt still on his face, but curiosity slowly building. As the machine's arm twists into position to empty the bucket, a bright yellow metallic flash suddenly flashes through the soil. In that instant, the camera goes into slow motion, and the entire site appears to freeze silently. Some of the crew instinctively step forward, a mix of disbelief and excitement clearly visible on their faces. The bright yellow reflex emanating from beneath the soil was so sharp that no one could have mistaken it. As Parker leans in toward the flash, his pupils dilate. He understands that this isn't normal surface gold. It's a direct hit from a major deposit. An electric spark-like tension spreads through the atmosphere, as if the entire ground itself is about to reveal a major secret. The excavator operator freezes for a few seconds in disbelief that such a clean and bright yellow glow could be found in the first scoop. A whisper spreads behind the crew. "Dude, that's not flake gold, that's chunk gold." Parker's hands automatically go to the scanner, but his eyes remain fixed on the clump of soil where the glow appeared. This was the moment every Gold Rush fan yearns for, a clear, life-changing yellow flash. As the bucket is slowly emptied onto the ground, yellow spots begin to appear in more places. Parker's heart races. This wasn't a random glow. It was a signal that a miner recognizes deep within their heart. This was the moment where Parker's doubts are shattered for the first time, and the ground begins to speak the truth. Sample test and gold calibration. Parker immediately gives the order. "Guys, sample table, now!" The clean-out team quickly grabs buckets and begins washing the sample. As soon as the mud falls beneath the water, heavy gold pieces are immediately visible. These weren't normal fine flakes, they were solid, clean, and heavy. Some crew members removed their gloves and placed them on their foreheads, as if in disbelief that such a clean recovery could be achieved in just the first scoop. The sample is carefully washed on the clean-out table, and as the water settles, clumps of gold become clearly visible. Parker's voice is a little shaky at first. "No way. How can so much gold be in just 1 yard?" Doumitt replies in a calm but confident tone. "Boss, this is a real load. The real jackpot is hidden deep down here." A small sample is extracted and fed into a calibration meter for purity testing. The meter slowly shows numbers: 91.4%, 92.1%, 93.0%. The crew collectively gasps. This purity is found in areas where sealed deposits are located, deposits that have been held in perfect form under pressure for years. Parker takes a step back and puts his hands to his head, his eyes brimming with disbelief and excitement. This was the moment when he realized that not only was Doumitt right, but this place could be the beginning of a potentially fateful deposit. Then the weight is measured, and the number that comes back literally shocks everyone. The sample bucket contained only an estimated 40-45 lumps of material, but the weight of the gold in it turns out to be unusually high. A crew member exclaims, "That's the size of a small pocket, boss." Parker says softly, "If the sample is that heavy, what's going to be there?" That line changed the atmosphere of the entire site. Purity high, weight insane, and shine unusually bright. All three signals were pointing in the same direction. This place is not normal ground. This is a sealed jackpot zone. In the next moment, Parker's tension turned to excitement. There was no doubt anymore. Now there was only one thought in his mind. We've hit the jackpot. Crew reaction, excitement versus fear. The bright yellow glow of the first scoop and the heavy chunks found on the clean-out table sparked a stark contrast in the crew's reactions. Some workers' faces were filled with pure excitement, as if the jackpot lay before them, just waiting for someone to say, "Start digging." Others patted each other's shoulders, laughing and exclaiming, "Dude, this is the biggest hit of the year." For them, the moment was like a dream, the first time they had seen such clear gold with their own eyes. But on the other hand, fear was clearly visible on the faces of some workers. They recoiled at the shiny material, as if they didn't like the vibe of the ground. They said, "This isn't normal ground. There's something strange here." Workers who mine every season have sharp instincts, and when they find ground that seems too perfect, there's often a story behind it. Such deposits are often ancient pockets, which, if disturbed, pose a risk of collapse or pressure release. Gradually, whispers began to spread among the crew. "Dude, this is probably a $75 million deposit. Bro, if these numbers are consistent, we're looking at a historical jackpot." Those whispers made the atmosphere even more electric. The tension between excitement and fear mixed in the air, creating a strange energy, as if some giant secret was about to be revealed beneath the ground. Some workers became so emotional that their eyes watered slightly, knowing that such a strike could change a miner's entire life. But 2 or 3 workers were nervous, saying, "So much gold in such a small area, it doesn't seem natural." All these mixed reactions were further confusing Parker, as he himself couldn't decide whether to be immersed in excitement or listen to the warning vibes of the land. Parker versus Doumitt, silent power shift. As the situation grew intense, a subtle but clear shift began to emerge. A silent power movement between Parker and Doumitt. Normally, Parker's decisions are final, and the crew works in that direction. But today, the crew was looking at Doumitt instead of Parker, as if he held the real answers. This was new, and Parker noticed it. Doumitt stood calm, holding the scanner in his hand, his posture steady, his face confident, and his voice controlled. His face didn't hold the worry that Parker's had. Parker took a deep breath and looked at Doumitt, and for the first time, he felt someone else in the command room today. Doumitt had taken charge of the entire situation without being loud. This is silent leadership. The crew gets direction without even speaking. The crew was asking Doumitt small questions. "Chris, how deep do we have to go? Is the pressure safe? Should I run the readings again?" Parker was watching all this. He felt as if the ground had chosen Doumitt this time. It wasn't just a jackpot, it was also a psychological shift. Doumitt, with years of experience, was standing tall today, and his words were becoming a direction for Parker as well. Parker finally approached Doumitt and asked softly, "What do you think?" It was a question that left the crew literally silent, because Parker rarely does this. Doumitt stared at the ground for a moment and said in a calm voice, "Boss, this place isn't just rich, it's deep. If we dig carefully, we'll find a life-changing find." His tone held such weight that the entire team's confidence automatically shifted. Parker's face showed both frustration and respect for a moment. He realized that Doumitt had turned the game around, not just the jackpot. The crew was following Doumitt, not Parker. The scene was silent, no loud fight, no drama, but the power shift was as clear as the bright shine of gold. Parker quietly nods and says, "All right, Chris, lead the dig." And that was the moment that made this entire episode legendary. Deeper digging begins. Machines 24/7. Once Parker and Doumitt confirm that the ground is indeed hot, a completely different atmosphere prevails at the site. The machines begin running at full speed. Excavators, dozers, and haul trucks shift into non-stop 24/7 mode. The yellow glow of floodlights casts on the ground at night, and each new layer of soil feels like a little closer to a secret. The crew is tired, but excitement keeps them going, because every shovel smells of a jackpot. The constant hum of the machines adds a unique tension to the Yukon night. Sometimes the excavator arms heat up to a red-hot feel, and the operators have to take a break. Parker repeatedly asks over the radio, "Check the engine temp, watch the pressure gauge." He knows that if the machines break down, the perfect rhythm of winning the jackpot could be broken. The ground looks so rich that Parker understands the importance of every second. The pressure within the crew is also increasing. There's excitement, but also fear, because the deeper the digging, the more unstable the ground becomes. Twice the soil beneath the excavator suddenly shifts, and the operator has to apply the emergency brake to regain his composure. One moment was so close that the entire crew was left breathless. The machine literally tilted 2 inches, but Doumitt handles everything in a calm tone. He quietly tells the operators, "Slow and steady, guys. The jackpot isn't running away." His simple words keep the entire crew steady. Even at 3 a.m., when most people are barely standing, clutching coffee cups, the machines don't stop. The lights, noise, dust, and the hope of gold all combine to make the digging feel cinematic. And then, at about 40 feet deep, a different vibe begins to emerge, as if the ground is pointing towards something else. Hard layer. Encounter, metallic clang. As the excavator reaches a depth of about 40 feet, its bucket suddenly hits something hard. The impact was so unusual that the operator immediately stopped the lever. A sharp metallic clang resonates across the site, a sound not found in soil, but in a solid structure. The entire site falls silent. The crew literally freezes in place, as if someone had pressed the pause button. Parker immediately runs to the machine. His face displays a mix of shock, confusion, and curiosity. He bends down to examine the freshly exposed soil, and his fingers lightly touch the hard surface. It wasn't rock-like. It was smoother, and the echo clearly indicated a hollow space within. A slight fear crosses Parker's face. "Is there something buried here?" he said softly, but everyone on the crew had heard the line. The operator changes the bucket angle and tries again, and this time the same metallic sound comes, but a little louder. This time the echo lasts a little longer, as if there's a cavity underneath. Whispers begin behind the crew. "Bro, this isn't natural rock. Could it be a sealed vault? Deep pocket? Ancient deposit?" These whispers completely changed the atmosphere. More than excitement, the fear of mystery now permeated the air. Doumitt stood quietly observing the sight. He removed the soil with his hand and felt the hard layer. His eyes narrowed. He felt it wasn't just a gold deposit. There might be something engineered beneath it, something unobtainable in normal mining. He looked at Parker and said, "Boss, this isn't just a jackpot. This seems to be something placed." Parker's mind raced. If there was a sealed pocket, metal slab, or buried structure underneath, then gold was just the beginning. His heartbeat began to race, and the nervous excitement was clearly evident among the crew. The echoes of the hard surface each time gave the site a spooky feel, as if the ground itself was trying to tell them that something big and unexpected was lurking within. First monster cleanout, heavy gold pocket. After detecting a metallic clang at 40 feet, Parker immediately ordered an urgent cleanout of whatever material had been recovered. The crew quickly picked up sample buckets and ran to the wash plant. The atmosphere was so tense that everyone watched the soil fall onto the table as if it were a treasure ceremony. Water began to flow, and as the soil fell, the glint of gold grew ever larger. The crew's eyes literally popped out of their sockets. The sight on the table, once the cleanout was complete, stunned everyone. The gold wasn't just in flakes or chunks. It appeared to be concentrated in one place, like a solid pocket. Parker rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand, in disbelief that such a clean recovery could be achieved in just one day. The first bucket was loaded onto the weighing machine. The numbers jumped to 312 ounces. The entire crew gasped in unison, as if someone had cut off the air. 312 ounces meant a value of nearly $650,000, all in just one day's cleanup. It was insane. It was historical. It was life-changing. Some workers grabbed each other in excitement. Some had shaking hands, others were staring at the screen. Parker's face reflected both disbelief and happiness. He said softly, "Guys, this is a monster pocket. I've never seen anything like this." Doumitt gave a slight confident smile, as if he already knew the ground would explode this big. But along with the excitement, a strange fear also permeated the air, because such high concentration gold pockets are often found in deep pressure zones, beneath which lie even greater secrets. No one on the crew was able to celebrate loudly, because everyone knew the real question was, if the first pocket is so big, then what lies beneath it? And this question raised the suspense of the entire site sky high. Engineers warning, ground instability. Next morning, engineers arrive at the site for a detailed scan. They check depth readings, soil pressure, and gas levels. The numbers that appear on the screen suddenly turn excitement into fear. The experts' faces were barely steady. An engineer pulled Parker aside and said, "Listen, the deeper zone is unstable. If digging too fast, there's a heavy possibility of collapse." Parker's face tightens. The tension of safety overwhelms him more than the joy of gold. Engineers explain that there are unusual hollow readings in some places in the ground, as if there's a cavity or a previously sealed area underneath. This is a good sign for a jackpot, but it could also be deadly for digging. Doumitt listens in silence, a slight glint of worry in his eyes, although he's trying to remain calm. Engineers point out another danger, the suspicion of gas pockets. When deep ancient pockets in the Yukon ground are disturbed, trapped gases can suddenly release, creating a major problem. One engineer literally says, if there's trapped pressure down there, one wrong hit and the whole sidewall can blow out. The crew falls silent. This moment was overwhelming for Parker. On one hand, the first clean-out worth $650,000, and on the other, the warning that the ground could collapse at any time. He stands looking at the distant spot where the 312 ounces were found, and a mixture appears in his eyes. Not greed, but a combination of curiosity and fear. He understands that to reach this jackpot, he'll need to read not just the gold, but the mood of the ground. Engineers finally advise, slow dig, controlled steps, no sudden deep hits. The urgency in his voice was clear. Parker quietly nodded and thought, if the ground is so unstable, then something very unusual could be lying beneath it. And that warning turned this dig from a jackpot to a mystery. Following the engineer's warning, Parker shifts the dig to a slow, calculated mode. Now each bucket is being lifted as if a time bomb is planted beneath it. Meanwhile, Doumitt prepares a special drilling setup for a deep core sample test. This drill does not capture normal soil, but the true truth of deeper pressure zones. As the drill descends, the readings constantly change, sometimes a gold spike, sometimes a sudden drop. But at about 55 feet, the drill bit suddenly runs smoothly, as if it is passing through a soft, gold-rich zone. When the core sample is pulled out, the crew literally breaks apart and gathers around it. A thick, uninterrupted gold vein is clearly visible inside the sample tube. So clear, so bright that Parker's face freezes in shock. These were not random flakes. It was a continuous, thick line, indicating only one thing, a deep, sealed pocket. Beneath this, a large deposit had been hidden under pressure for decades. This moment was made even more intense by AI mapping. The AI model created a 3D layout of the entire ground, and the glowing shape that appeared on the screen was a perfect oval pocket. The readings read, estimated deposit value, 65 mm, 75 mm. Oh no, the crew's breath literally stopped. Parker's hands trembled. This was the jackpot every miner had waited a lifetime for. Doumitt's face held a calm satisfaction, as if he already knew the ground would yield such a deep reward. The celebrations began on site. Laughter, shouts, excitement. But Parker still felt a strange tension inside. The bigger the jackpot, the greater the risk. And the twist in the story was still to come. Grand suspense ending, plus CTA, a new, deeper signal. Just when Parker allowed the crew to celebrate a little, the scanner operator yelled, "Parker, you need to see this now." Everyone stopped. A new, completely unexpected reading appeared on the scanner screen. Another anomaly, beneath the same jackpot pocket, and this time the gold density was double the previous one. Readings were flashing, 41, 47, 52 Oz yard. These numbers weren't normal, not dangerous, but unbelievable. Fear was evident on Parker's face. If there was a 75 O'Meller's deposit above, what might be hidden beneath? Deep ancient pocket, buried chamber, heavy trapped pressure? The questions were so numerous that the air suddenly felt heavy. Doumitt tells Parker in a completely serious tone, "Boss, this jackpot isn't over. The real thing is still below." His line transformed the energy of the entire celebration into a suspenseful one. The camera zooms in on Parker's face, his eyes wide, breathing heavy, and his mind racing. The crew is also silent. No one knows what will be found next. The ground isn't just gold-rich. Perhaps it's also story-rich. And this ending makes the entire episode legendary. Buy, subscribe. If you miss the next reveal, the entire story of Gold Rush will remain incomplete.